product that we're using, that we have been using is Grace, WR Grace Permabarrier Wall Flashing. One of the reasons we use this is because it is an air barrier, it is a vapor barrier. It also is a water control layer. Now, it happens to not be at the place where we have our venting and our drainage plane, but it is our sort of our backstop for any water coming into the system. Okay, it has the ability to handle penetrations like fasteners through it very well, in that it doesn't leave an air gap or a hole. When you spin a screw through the permabarrier and you get friction, you're going to get that permabarrier to basically reanimate, and then it'll self-seal back around that fastener. Okay, and so that's a really important piece when you're doing exterior insulation, because the number of screws and fasteners you've got to push through that air and vapor control and that water control, and you don't have good drainage back there, you want to make sure that those aren't becoming entry points into the system. The permabarrier is 60 mil thick, which, as it relates to, let's say if you've ever seen Grace Ice and Water, I think Grace Ice and Water is like 22 mils. So it's almost 3 times as thick. It's a really pretty beefy material. If you put it on the roof and you step on it, it'll shear and you'll actually move it. So it's because there's a lot of solids in that sheet. So it's a completely different material, but those are all the things that we want it for, right? It is a bituminous in base, but comes in a 3-foot by 75-foot roll, and we sort of talked through the primer requirements, but they also have an overlap requirement when you lap it of 3 inches. So anytime we do any lapping, particularly sheet to sheet, we need a 3-inch lap. Now, in St. Paul, we got ran through the ringer on the building inspector on this membrane for a number of different reasons, but the main one was he was concerned we were running it vertically. He wanted it run horizontally, and then he was concerned about the overlap, and he was concerned about it being a vapor barrier, which is a different argument. But the point is that it's going to be a new product people aren't used to. Now, we've done as much as we can with the building inspection group, and we'll continue to support that, but I highly recommend, and we'll do our best to support this as well, but have their installation literature on site during inspection, because it's literally just show them, because it says it in their installation that that's what you need.
Steve?
Yeah.
Did you say the membrane, the black stuff was 40 mil?
60 mil.
It's 40. I was setting up with CMI a purchase for all affordable housing for a special pricing through WR Grace. And then I asked them for the 60 mil, and he said, no, it's 40 mil.
Well, I wonder if that's different.
Which, to me, is better.
Why?
Because it's lighter, goes up faster, and does the same job, basically.
They're both self-healing, right?
Yeah, there should be enough material.
That's the membrane, the installation sheet that you'll want for the inspector.
What's the cold temperature that it can be applied as far as winter?
Really cold.
5. The primer too?
In the real cold, I think you have to use a water or an oil-based primer, right, Steve? Water-based obviously won't work.
25 and 60 degrees.
It's not very cold.
No.
But they do have a cold weather primer.
So the max temp you can apply it is 60?
It's not very hot either.
So what if we have a 70-degree morning, like it is very possible that this during the summertime?
Yeah, I would say that let's dig a little bit farther into that, but if we've installed it on much hotter days, much hotter surfaces, and the issue really is that the second you peel that thing apart, you touch the backs to it, you gotta throw it
Like
away.
contacts.
Right.
That's the low temperature membrane, high temperature is, and the regular is just above something, so I don't think that's,
Okay.
I don't think that applies to one we're using.
Yes, they have a whole, like book installation guide.
But in the installation guide, they show it being installed vertically like you guys are doing it?
They have a guide that shows it horizontally, but only with these flashing clips, but it doesn't say you can't do it vertically. And so that was, the main thing is it doesn't say how you're supposed to do it in terms of running it vertically or horizontally, which was all he wanted to see. Let's see here.
So the horizontally
There,
Is-
over to the right, Steve.
incredibly hard
Exposed
to
more, zoom
install,
out on
because
that.
you're gonna creep down, and when you start to pick up, you're
There it
gonna
is.
pucker or
Wall
fish mouth.
flashing.
So the horizontal doesn't make sense installing to begin with, and it's heavy, it's hard to. Secondarily, now you have a edge you have to worry about. And, third, we like the vertical overlap because you actually get a little bump. And if there is any water that gets back there, you can go over to that groove and drop.
We're using the wall membrane, it's this one over here. Yeah, so it's 40 mil. Use at 40 degrees and above. But I also remember there was something about, this is where then you have to use the membrane, or the primer. And the primer is like the cold adhesion application. It won't stick very well below that, but the primer will get it to stick. Primer, so 25 degrees for the primer, for the low end. And we've used, this product in terms of what we're doing here, we've used on snow days, so we've used it in cold, we use it really hot, but we also, in the roofing side of things, have used this product for a lot of the wall flashing membrane, the green stuff. We use that product a lot in roofing applications, and never had any issue in terms of we can't apply this in too hot, other than this idea that the stuff starts to get really difficult to manage, which as soon as it sticks together, and that just, I think, gets down to having two people. And when you look at the horizontal application, it'll become really clear, the horizontal application's the most difficult to try to use it because you're trying to hold a long sheet and it sags, and so you're using 8-foot pieces. But when you go the long way, it's much more manageable material, right? Okay. So we talked about the release paper, just using that Tyvek 6-inch installation. Repairs and unplanned penetration. So it's inevitable that somebody will pop a hole through the membrane. We got to flash it, or we have a penetration that gets added or was put in wrong. We've had repairs done in the past, but effectively all you're going to need to do is cut right above it, and you're going to have to really yank that stuff up, but you'll lift up a flap and then you'll tuck underneath a new patch repair over whatever it is you're doing. Fold that flap back down and then put a piece of tape over that.
Yeah, one time a kid came by and just took his knife and cut a 6-foot thing through it.
That was a nice little.
Could, kind of thinking of a bike tire, could you take primer, put it over the penetration, and then take a strip? I mean, that little bit, if it's only 40 mil,
Well, actually, Grace now has a caulk that is designed for backward slope flash or shingling details. So if you have a lip, like if you're not flashed this way but you're flashed this way, that lip, they sell a caulking that you can run just on that lip, and it's supposed to, like, it falls into their warranty. So I'm even wondering if you do end up even with a cut and you just, like you said, just put a Band-Aid over it. I think it's just a perimeter caulking job around that. we've not used it to date, but that's,
Have you tried the 3M tape on that? I think that'd be pretty
yeah, that stuff's
rugged.
pretty
Yeah,
solid.
and use that as a termination if you have to do a overlap or Band-Aid.
Just so everybody kind of sees, this is that 3M tape right here. It's a really thin, stretchy, it's got a paper back to it. 3M has, you know, sort of stated you can use this as your straight flasher on your window flanges, you know, to install a window. You can use it as wall membrane. There's a lot of applications for it, but the nice part about it is it's really thin. So it's low profile, it doesn't build up, like especially when you're, we'll use it a lot for window installs where our exterior casing or trim is sensitive to sort of the buildup of the flange and multiple layers of flashing.
Who's that guy in the window?
That guy?
Spilling and spilling.
Looked like a knife he had in his hand.
Okay, so windows, do we have any questions on windows? Okay. Insulation. So insulation, we have sort of two